down. Come on, AC. Give God some praise. Woo!
What's up?
Bro, yo, that bumper goes stupid. That bumper's insane every time. Hey, well, I'm Tyler. I'm a 4th semester in pastoral practicum.
And I'm Maggie. I'm a 4th semester in the worship practicum. Worship prac, best prac.
Hey, y'all, this is student-led chapel. Everything is student-led, from worship to planning to production. Everything you see today is put on by your peers and your friends. And so, hey, it ain't over yet. We got a lot more to go. Actually, fun fact, in the lobby after service, Dallas Bates is wrestling an alligator.
This is true. All true.
In the lobby. And he doesn't know he's doing that yet. So get ready for it. No, but we actually do have a pretty big surprise. Maggie, you want to tell them?
We do. So obviously we've been in this series called Don't Hold Back. Have you guys been loving it? So good. We've heard from incredible speakers, and I know we've all been impacted so much. But today might be my absolute favorite day because our speakers today are actually our peers, our friends, our classmates, our roommates. Yes. And we are so excited, for real. We're gonna be just hearing their testimonies of situations in their life where they had to choose to not hold back, and how it was not for nothing, but that God used just their perseverance and everything that we've been learning. And what's really cool, actually, is that our theme for today for our student-led chapel is not for nothing. And when that kind of came about, it was just an idea that was thrown out in our meetings, and Tyler and I were actually talking. We just kind of ran with it, but we were talking and realized that it's actually right there in our theme verse. So totally God on that one, knew what he was doing. So we're so excited today, but let's just read our theme verse together and just prepare our hearts for all that God has to speak today.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
With all this going for us, my dear friends, stand your ground and don't hold back. Throw yourselves into the work of the Master, confident that nothing you do for him is a waste of time or effort. Give a hand to the work. Okay, HC, I need your biggest, loudest clap, energy, hype for your speakers, your friends, Diego, Samantha, Olivia, Carson.
What is going on? Thank you, everybody. I just want to give a quick shout out to the Highlands Chapels team. Thank you so much for allowing us to do this. Thank you very much. All right, you guys can all have a seat now. I appreciate it. I love you too. Okay, buenos dias. All right, what's going on, everybody? My name is Diego, if I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you. I am a 4th semester in the pastoral practicum, and a little fun fact about me is I am from Beaumont, Texas. If you don't know where that is, just Google Houston. Every Texan is from Houston at some point in their life. But a little bit more about me is I was actually not born in Texas. I was born in a third world country known as El Salvador. I think there's some people from El Salvador here. But I came here to the States at the age of 5 with my single father and my older brother. And that's basically who helped me grow up in life. But unfortunately, since reality kicked in, we are all illegal immigrants to the States. My father had to work many low-income jobs for many hours to help ends meet, right? So, hardworking man. But that caused my father to be you guys will understand it, a professor through Zoom and not a hands-on experienced professor. I was learning from my father from afar and not from up close. So that was allowing me to create tensions of like, hey, I'm not secure in myself, or the image that I'm not as stable as I think I am. So most of my influence came from my friends and peers that I played soccer with. So I was learning from people that were my age, younger than me, that didn't know anything about life, and I thought it was wise to learn from them. It wasn't. It caused me to hang out with friends that are fun and wild. And fun and wild is okay if it's controlled. But we were not controlled. And this brings me to my story of my senior year homecoming night. I decided it was smart to throw a party. And this was not a Christian party. You know, everybody knows what non-Christian parties look like. Me and my friend took it upon ourselves to purchase alcohol and other drugs to help the night be brighter, be enlightened, you know? And so that happened. But through that night, me and my friend decided to go for a drive. Don't worry, we're not going that way. We had a sober friend, so shout out to the sober friends. But through that night, we ended up getting pulled over. And me and my friend were not sober-minded by any means necessary. And to add on that, we were not empty. We were carrying things that we weren't supposed to be carrying. And this wasn't no little thing. This is big thing, you know? So it was just like, that added to the tension. But for some reason, the officer knew all of that, and he decided to let us go. He decided to let us go. And I think that night, God showed me so much mercy and so much love in such a powerful way that I couldn't deny it. On the way back, my friend just made a remark. He's saying, Diego, God got us out of that car. And I said, praise God. I said, you know God? I didn't think you knew God, but you know God? Okay, praise God. But then he continued that remark by stating that, hey, you are the God in this car. You're in the God. So I recognized that I wasn't living the way that I was supposed to be living. I recognized that in Philippians 1:6, it says that I am sure of this, that he who started good work in you will see to completion the day of Jesus Christ. Because I remember that, but I also remember the fact that at the age of 13, I was called into ministry, and I ran far from it. And I think there may be some of you here that are running from God, even at Highlands College, for the calling that you have. But we have a loving Father that will call you again and again and again and again, just to tell you that, hey, he did not make no mistake when he called you into life of ministry. You may not feel like you're equipped, but you are. You know, it's just like you are called, and he will make that happen for you. Carson is called. Olivia is called. Sam, Mia, you are called, and I want you to remember that. I want you to remember to the moment that you were called and to walk in it. I know you may be scared, but let me remind you, Philippians 1:16 says that I am sure that he who started good work in you will see it to completion in the day of Jesus Christ. You know, I believe in you guys. God himself believes in you guys. God did not make a mistake when he said, Zach, come with me. He didn't make a mistake when he said, Josh, come with me. You know, it may take some time for you to recognize that, but I want you to recognize that all the good moments, all the bad moments in life were not for nothing. And God will use the glory, and he will remind you again over and over and over again that you are called, and that's all you need. All you need is the Father's voice in your life to make you move, that you are called, and that's enough. I love you guys so much. Thank you.
Well, hello, Highlands College. What an honor it is to stand before you all and share with you my testimony, my story, what God has so beautifully written in my life. For those of you I don't know, my name is Samantha Cheek. I'm a fourth semester in the conferences and events practicum. And I grew up as this super loving and kind and joyful and generous and selfless person. And this is how the world saw me. And this is honestly who I am. But behind closed doors, I was trapped in sin. Highlands College, have you ever been trapped in sin? Have you ever been so chained to something that you know you shouldn't be doing or watching or saying or listening to, but you continue to because you're chained to it? Well, that's my story. At a young age, my innocence was stolen from me through a small moment of sexual harassment. And from that moment on, I sought to fill this hole in my heart that was prematurely revealed to me. And so I turned to the world's broken form of release, pornography and masturbation. And for many years, I believed that I would go to the grave with this sin. I believed that no one would know about it. I was wrong, so wrong. God had other plans. In high school, I met my best friend, and she had been struggling with her own sin, but it was different for her. She was on this journey with this God, and she had this hope that one day she would be free. And she shared with me all the love that this God has for us and how he so generously wants to give us the best things in life. And so my junior year of high school, I gave my life to this God and began my own journey of knowing and loving him and pursuing freedom. Highlands College, it was not easy. Over the past year, there have been specific moments in my life of honest vulnerability with myself and with others that have pushed me towards victory. And once I decided that I was going to fill this hole in my heart with the only thing that can satisfy, which is every word that comes from the mouth of God. Matthew 4:4, man cannot live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. He became what I sought. Highlands College, I now stand before you, free. Come on! Redeemed. My innocence is restored. My purity is restored. I am the product of not holding back. Look at me and let me be a picture of God's glory and how powerful your testimony will be one day. Listen. Don't let the enemy try and tell you that freedom is not in your story. Because you and I, we serve the same God. And newsflash, he's in the business of setting people free. So Highlands College, we don't hold back. Because it's not for nothing.
What is up, Highlands College? My name is Olivia Stone. I'm a fourth semester in the student practicum. Grew up in Birmingham, right down the street. And today, I want to talk to you about darkness. So you always hear people be like, you have that one crazy person in your family. If you don't know who it is, it's probably you. Every time I hear that, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, okay, yeah, I got a lot of crazy people in my family. Like, it's not just one. Does anybody else have a crazy family in here? Okay, yeah. So I'm like, I got a lot of crazy people in my family. Does that make me like automatically one of them? Like, do I fall in that crazy category? Like, I don't know how that works. All I know is that I got a lot of crazy in my family, a lot of brokenness, and a lot of darkness. So my mom and dad had me when they were fresh in college. Soon after they had me, my dad got involved in the wrong crowd, the wrong scene, started heavily abusing substances and selling them. They separated, and soon after, my mom followed that same path of abusing substances. My mom married my stepdad, not because they loved each other, but because she wanted to have a way to provide for me. So all I remember growing up is my mom being in a depressive state for weeks, unable to get out of bed, unable to do anything. My dad wasn't there. He was in and out of jail my whole life, chasing that high. My stepdad was at work. He loved chasing money. Whenever he was home, he was verbally, emotionally, and even sometimes physically abusive to my mother. So it was always a war zone at home, but it's all I knew. I had to grow up really fast. I have a younger sister. I had to make sure that we had food on the table, that we were doing our schoolwork, that we could pass, that we could even get to school. Just very basic things that your parents do. I didn't have, but it's all I knew. But as I got older, I realized, looking at my peers and at my friends, that my situation wasn't normal. And I was angry about it. I was frustrated. I was upset. I hardened my heart towards my family, towards my friends, towards my peers, definitely towards God. Every day I woke up, and I knew that I had two decisions. This is what I felt like. I felt like I could wake up, fall into the same hole as everyone around me, or I would wake up and I would just survive. I would do what I needed to do to get by. Whenever I was in middle school, I got invited to a city group at Church of the Highlands, and I wish I could tell you that I went, and it was like, wow, God, I love you. This is great. My life has changed. But really, I went, and I just saw that these people that I was looking at, they were having fun. They were joking. They were laughing. And I couldn't remember the last time that I had genuine fun, and it made me curious. I started going to Highlands on Sunday. I jumped on a team, and I didn't know much, but all I knew is that I had complete peace when I was there. Whenever I went home, it left. I knew that I loved being at the church. Whenever I went home, all I could think about is, how do I get there again? After a couple months of this, next thing I knew, I found myself at an altar call on my knees. I didn't care what was going on at home. I didn't care what was going on in my heart and my mind, what had been done to me, what had happened. All I could hear and all I could feel was Jesus. He was speaking over me, Romans 8:18, that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing to the glory that is to be revealed. That is the first promise that I heard that I knew would be kept at Highlands College. Now, I want to talk to you about light, because Jesus changes everything. I walked back into my house different. It was not the same person. I knew what I saw, but it didn't matter because I had a heavenly perspective, and I was looking at what I will see, the glory that is to be revealed. I looked at my family, and I saw that they were broken, but for the first time, it wasn't because of me. It wasn't because of the circumstances that were dealt for me. It was an attack from the enemy. And I knew that they didn't know how to get out of the hole they were in. But now I had a light. The light wasn't just on me, but it was in me. And that light, it's contagious. What I saw was not what he saw and the plans that he had. I knew that I had a love for broken people. Guys, it's the Great Commission. It's all over the Highlands College application. It's on the TV screens outside. We know the Great Commission. But do you live it? Seriously, your story is what helps you live it. And I don't know what about your story that you try so desperately to keep in the dark. I don't know if you have a broken family like me. I don't know if it's the sin that you can't get away from. I don't know if it's what you did a couple years ago. I don't know if it's what was done to you. I don't know what it is. But I know that as soon as you offer it up to the light, darkness can't touch it. I know what it's like to be in a pit and be brought out. I know what it's like to have victory over the enemy, guys. I have hope that my family will be healed one day, whether it be on this earth or in heaven. And I know that lives will be changed for the name of Jesus because of the light that we carry inside of us, guys. Highlands College, light will always, always overcome the darkness because light is contagious and that light lives inside of you. It's not for nothing.
Thank you. What's up, everybody? My name is Carson Miller. I am a fourth semester in the pastoral practicum. Shout out PL Prac. Coming all the way from Louisiana, also known as Cajun Country, the Boot, Tiger Town. I've also heard people call us the crazy people from the South, which I can pretty much stand here and say it's all pretty much true. No, but I'm really super excited, and it's honestly a privilege to be able to share a little bit of my story. Because I'm sure if I asked a lot of you, I'm not asking, but if I did, to raise your hand if you've dealt with family struggle or tension in your family, a lot of hands would be up in this room. And that's a little bit of my story. So I grew up with a really split family dynamic. My mom, I love my mom. She was the best. She is the best. Super loving, super nurturing, super overprotective. I'm talking like I was the baby, so I was like, I'm the coddled one. And so like, couldn't talk to a girl till I was 13. Didn't have a phone till I was 15. Like if there's the homeschool mom, you know, she's like underneath that because I wasn't homeschooled. But so yeah, super nurtured. Sorry, homeschool kids out there. I didn't mean to make fun, but super nurturing mom. And my dad actually, on the other hand, was quite the opposite. He grew up in a really rough family. His dad put him to work at 15 on the roof, which in Louisiana is basically terrible. It's really hot. And so he was just, his dad wasn't very loving to him, and his dad didn't know how to share the love with his children. And so in turn, my dad never learned how to share love with his children. Which he did love us, don't get me wrong. He loved us with everything he had. He just never could show it in a way that was tangible for me as a kid. So that's where the disconnect happened between me and my dad. And this may be you. I may be describing your situation. But I found myself having to perform or achieve things for my dad to tell me that he's proud of me, that he loves me, that, like I'm his kid and that he's so excited about what I'm doing. But I never got that. Like I feel like I had to work for that. And after all the performing and trying, it's exhausting. It's exhausting, and it gets you, when you're tired, everybody knows when you're tired, you get cranky. Well, when you're spiritually, emotionally tired, like it brings you to a bad place. Like darkness, no peace, no rest, no encouragement, really. I had it from my mom, but I so desperately wanted it from my dad. And then fast forward a few, however many months, years, whatever, I met Jesus. And let me tell you, he changed my perspective on my relationship with my dad. Because what he was showing me was Ephesians 2:20. Paul's writing to the church in Ephesus, and he's saying, we believers, once we have accepted Christ into our hearts, we are built on the teachings of the apostles and the teachers. That's our foundation. But the cornerstone, the foundation of the foundation is Christ Jesus. And what I realized was that I was building my security, building my life, building my trust, my identity, who I wanted to be, who I was at the moment in my dad, when he was not supposed to carry all of it. Maybe some of it, but he was never supposed to carry all of it. What God began to show me was that my relationship and my identity needed to be in the Father and not my dad. And so maybe you're here today, and I don't know what your story is, because honestly, some of you probably have way worse stories than mine. Maybe it was a mom you grew up with who was just not that nurturing mom that didn't do things that a mother should do. Or maybe it was a dad who even now doesn't believe in you and why you're at a ministry school and not pursuing a real job, Because a little bit of that's my story, But let me tell you, when you feel your world is shaking like this, it's probably a good time to check your foundation. Because once you're on Jesus, I'm telling you, there's foundation, there's peace, there's the rest that you're looking for, the encouragement that you're feeling. I'm telling you, it's there. Because I've been there. I've been in the spot where you're looking for the rest, you're looking for the peace, you're looking for the love. And my favorite thing about God is that I can stand in front of him right after I messed up, right after I feel like the lowest form of myself, and he can look at me and say, I'm proud of you. I love you. There is nothing you can do to make God more proud of you than he is right now. And so I'll end with this. All of the pain, all of the disappointment that I went through, and all the disappointment that you're going through or maybe have gone through, or the hurt from family that you've gone through, none of it was for nothing, because it only makes me appreciate even more what God does for me right now. So HG, I'm telling you, if God can renew my story and restore me, I promise he can do the same for you. Thanks, guys.
Didn't everyone do a great job? And Carson and Diego and Sam, Olivia. If you guys don't know me, my name is Mia Hardy. I'm a fourth semester in the Pastoral Leadership Practicum. I'm so excited. I'm so honored to be sharing my story today. And I grew up as a pastor's kid. I've been a pastor's kid for 15 years. My parents planted the church back in 2006 in North Metro Atlanta. And I've lived there and I've been a PK ever since. And one of the best perks of being a pastor's kid is knowing where the food is at church. And a close second, not quite there, but a close second, is just having this exposure to ministry at a really young age. So much so that the first sermon I ever gave, I was 9 years old. I was on a mission trip to Peru, and I spoke at an orphanage. I had my notes in a pink glitter folder. I remember that distinctly. And I think my dad, he still has it in his desk. It's a pink glitter folder, and it was on that trip I was called to ministry. And I just want you guys to go back to that moment real quick where you were called to ministry or called to Highlands College, that excitement, that giddiness, like, oh, I'm called. I know what I'm supposed to do. God gave me. you know, just that excitement, that giddiness, that courage, and then the honeymoon phase is over, and you realize you can't do this on your own, and what you're doing is so much bigger than you, and you feel like you can't do this, and there's that temptation to run and hide, and that's exactly what I did. I ran and I hid. I promised myself that I would never go into ministry, and obviously there's been a change of plan since then, but at that time, that promise was so real. Being a pastor's kid, you get to see God do some amazing things. I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. But you also get a peek behind the curtain, and you see the cost of admission for ministry. You see the emotional toll that it can take. And I just remember running and hiding like Jonah running from Nineveh, complete 180 in my heart. And because I hid, shame started creeping into my life. I was afraid God was going to find me. He's going to be mad at me. And the more shame I had, the more I hid, the more shame I had. It was just this vicious cycle. It created depression, anxiety. I got help for it, and they called what I developed a shame-based core identity, which basically meant I had so much shame. Without shame, there was no Mia. That I could not separate myself from my shame because I ran and I hid. But God found me. And aren't you glad that God finds us? He found me at a motion conference, and the speaker was speaking on Genesis 3, and you guys know the story. It's the story of the fall where Adam and Eve, they eat the fruit and they hide, and God finds them, they explain themselves, and God says, who told you were naked? You guys know the story. And before that conference, I always read that scripture, who told you were naked? And God has this stern look on his face and a wagging finger. Who told you you were, I can't be the only one that read it like that. This mad God. And the speaker just completely changed my view on this verse because he compared it with an interaction he had with his daughter, where she came home from school one day and she said, Daddy, I'm not beautiful, I'm ugly. He said, who told you that? Who told you you weren't beautiful? Who told you you were ugly? And it just clicked in my mind. It wasn't anger. It wasn't disappointment. It was heartbreak for his daughter. It was love. And all of my life I've been telling God, I can't do this. I can't do what you called me to do, so I hid. And God was saying, who told you you can't do this? Who told you? You can't do what I called you to do. And maybe some of you, you're in ministry school, you're in the perfect will of God, you know you're in the right place, like you know your own name, but there's still that voice in the back of your mind that's saying, maybe you can't do this, you don't have what it takes, this is the wrong place, wrong time, you're not called. Maybe it was an actual person who told you that. Maybe it was a lie from the enemy. But there's only one voice that matters, and I know for sure he didn't tell you that. Because Christ's grace is sufficient for us, and his power is made perfect in weakness. But we don't have access to that power if we don't admit that we're weak. God can't meet us halfway if we hold back and we hide. At that same conference, God called me again, and this time I said yes. And I don't always get it right, but I promised him I'd never hide again. He came in, he restored my life. He took the shame, depression, anxiety. He replaced it with confidence and joy. And every time they try to sneak back in, I remind myself, my weakness and my insecurity, it's not for nothing. It's where God can flex. It makes me a perfect candidate for the power of God. So if you get anything from this HC, just know that your weakness and insecurity, it's not for nothing.